The Israel-Palestine conflict is a complex one with a long history, and there are many different perspectives on the causes of the violence. The current conflict began in May 2021 with clashes between Israeli police and Palestinian protesters at the Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem. The violence quickly escalated, with both sides launching airstrikes and rocket attacks. There are a number of reasons why the conflict is happening now. One reason is that the two sides are far apart on the key issues. The Israelis are unwilling to give up control of the West Bank and Jerusalem, while the Palestinians are unwilling to accept anything less than a fully independent state. Another reason for the conflict is the lack of trust between the two sides. Both sides have been the victims of violence and terrorism, and they are both suspicious of the other side's intentions. The conflict is also happening now because of the political situation in the region. The Israeli government is currently led by a right-wing coalition that is opposed to any concessions to the Palestinians. The Palestinian government is also weak and divided. There is no single answer to the question of who started the current Israeli-Palestinian war. The conflict has a long and complex history, and there are many different perspectives on the causes of the violence. It is important to note that the conflict is not simply between two opposing sides. There are many different factions within both the Israeli and Palestinian groups, each with their own agendas and goals. This makes it difficult to identify who is ultimately responsible for the violence. The current Israeli-Palestinian war has had a devastating impact on both sides. Thousands of people have been killed and injured, and millions have been displaced from their homes. The war has also caused widespread economic damage. What weapon appears to be used in the current Israeli-Palestinian war? The current Israeli-Palestinian war has seen the use of a variety of weapons on both sides. The Israeli military has used airstrikes, artillery, and tanks, while the Palestinian militants have used rocket attacks. The Israeli Air Force has carried out hundreds of airstrikes on targets in Gaza, including residential buildings, hospitals, and schools. The Israeli military has also used artillery and tanks to bombard Gaza. The Palestinian militants have used rocket attacks against Israeli cities. The rockets are often homemade and inaccurate, and they have caused civilian casualties on both sides. In addition to these conventional weapons, both sides have also used weapons that are illegal or controversial under international law. For example, the Israeli military has used white phosphorus munitions, which are known to cause severe burns and other injuries. The Palestinian militants have used anti-personnel mines, which are indiscriminate weapons that can kill or maim civilians. The use of these weapons has been condemned by the international community, but both sides have continued to use them. The war has had a devastating impact on both the Israeli and Palestinian people, and it is important to note that there are many people who are working to promote peace and reconciliation in the conflict. In this current Israel-Palestine war, which one is stronger? The Israeli military is significantly stronger than the Palestinian militant groups. Israel has a modern military with a large air force, navy, and army. The Israeli military is also well-equipped and well-trained. The Palestinian militant groups, on the other hand, are smaller and less well-equipped. They do not have an air force or navy, and their army is much smaller than the Israeli army. The Palestinian militant groups also lack the sophisticated weapons that the Israeli military has. Despite the disparity in strength, the Palestinian militant groups have been able to inflict some damage on the Israeli military. The Palestinian militant groups have fired thousands of rockets at Israel, and they have also carried out suicide bombings and other attacks. How dangerous is the current Israeli-Palestinian war for the world? Certainly, the ongoing Israeli-Palestinian war poses significant dangers to the world. Potential escalation. The conflict could escalate into a wider regional war, involving countries like Egypt, Jordan, and Syria, especially if Israel launches a ground invasion of Gaza, drawing in various militant groups. Humanitarian crisis. The war could result in a severe humanitarian crisis in the densely populated Gaza Strip, causing shortages of food, water, medicine, and displacing millions. This could lead to a refugee crisis and destabilize neighboring nations. Global economic impact. The Middle East is a major oil-producing region. Disruption in oil production could spike oil prices, causing economic instability worldwide. Reputation damage. Countries supporting Israel, particularly the United States, may face reputational damage due to civilian casualties. The U.S., as a close ally, provides significant military aid to Israel and often protects it from international criticism through UN vetoes. Continued casualties could tarnish the reputations of these supporting nations. The current conflict's potential for escalation, humanitarian crisis, economic impact, and reputational damage to supporting nations make it a significant global concern. The Israel-Palestine conflict is a complex and multifaceted issue that has deep historical, religious, and political roots. The conflict has its origins in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, during the decline of the Ottoman Empire and the rise of nationalist movements in the Middle East. Late 19th and early 20th centuries, during the late 1800s and early 1900s, Jewish and Arab nationalist movements emerged in response to growing tensions in the region. The Zionist movement, led by Jewish activists, sought to establish a homeland for Jews in Palestine, then part of the Ottoman Empire. The Arab population in Palestine, however, resisted these efforts, fearing the loss of their land and rights. Balfour Declaration, 1917. During World War I, the British government issued the Balfour Declaration in 1917, expressing support for the establishment of a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine. This declaration heightened tensions between Jewish and Arab communities in the region. British Mandate, 1920-1948. After World War I, the League of Nations granted Britain a mandate over Palestine. During this period, Jewish immigration increased, leading to further tensions between Jewish settlers and the Arab population. Conflicts between the two communities escalated over issues such as land ownership and national identity. UN Partition Plan, 1947, and the 1948 Arab-Israeli War. In 1947, the United Nations proposed a partition plan that would divide Palestine into separate Jewish and Arab states, with Jerusalem as an international city. The plan was accepted by Jewish leaders, but rejected by Arab leaders. In 1948, following the declaration of the State of Israel, neighboring Arab states invaded Israel, leading to the Arab-Israeli War. The war resulted in significant territorial changes and the displacement of hundreds of thousands of Palestinians, leading to ongoing refugee issues. Ongoing conflict. Since the 1948 war, there have been several major conflicts between Israel and its Arab neighbors, as well as Palestinian uprisings, intifadas, against Israeli occupation in the West Bank and Gaza Strip. The conflict has been marked by cycles of violence, peace talks, and diplomatic efforts, but a lasting resolution has proven elusive due to deep-rooted historical, political, and religious factors. The conflict remains a significant global issue, with multiple peace initiatives and negotiations ongoing, aiming to find a peaceful and lasting solution to the long-standing dispute between Israelis and Palestinians. The conflict is complex and has a long history. There are many different perspectives on the causes of the violence, and there is no easy solution. The Israel-Palestine conflict is a tragedy, and it is important to remember that it is having a devastating impact on both the Israeli and Palestinian people. It is important to work towards a peaceful resolution of the conflict and to support organizations that are providing humanitarian aid to the people of Israel and Palestine.